Papua New Guinea has revealed it had secret early talks with China on security and policing. They were approached by China back in September last year to assist with police for training. PNG had since agreed to stick with Australia for security needs. This announcement comes after Australia lost its security backed with Tuvalu and Nara revealing an alliance with China. Let's bring in ASPI senior analyst, Dr. Malcolm Davis, for all of this. How worrying is this for you, Malcolm?
Look, I think this is very worrying. If PNG does in fact sign a security deal with China, invariably those sorts of security deals that Beijing promotes starts with policing, ends up with greater Chinese presence, and ultimately potentially leads down the path to what we've seen in the Solomon Islands, where you then have a security deal that allows for a Chinese military base. And that would be a devastating development for Australia's security if the Chinese military ends up with a presence in Papua New Guinea.
Can China even afford it? I mean, you've got the situation with Evergrande at the moment, Malcolm, somewhat related. I mean, it just goes to show the economic conditions that China is facing at the moment. Can they afford to do all of this at the moment, to branch out?
Look, China places defence and security above all else. So they prioritise that in their economy. And you see that with their military modernisation, which is continuing on full steam ahead in spite of China's economic challenges that it's facing. And I think that this is part of those defence and security interests. From China's perspective, it's in its interest to expand its presence and influence across the region, to challenge the US and to ultimately isolate Australia. And so they will prioritise this. They won't see defence and security and military capability put at the back behind economic development.
I mean, Australia has already made its approaches. Have we been outfoxed by China here?
It's too early to say. I mean, I think we need to see what the PNG government decides. But if indeed they do sign this deal with the Chinese, that is a real cause for concern. I do think that the Albanese government should be moving very fast to head this off. They shouldn't just be sitting and assuming that this won't happen. We saw what happened with the Solomon Islands in 2022, where suddenly we were confronted with a security deal that would allow the Chinese to put in a military base there. The Chinese could still do that at any time they wished. And I think that what the Chinese tend to do is they use instability as a justification to get a police presence in. They build that police presence up, and then they turn it into a military presence. You cannot allow that to happen.
Just looking overseas, Malcolm, for your thoughts as the US weighs up its options on how it should respond after that drone strike. What are your thoughts? How should the US respond here?
Oh, look, they need to respond much more robustly and decisively than what they've done in the past. I mean, this strike by the Iranian-sponsored militias have now killed 3 US service people and wounded over 30 US service people. That's a much more serious escalation by Iran than previous incidents. So the US does need to respond decisively. They've got various different options they can look at. And I think probably high on the list of targets would be the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, which is responsible for these militias that are doing these strikes. So they could launch strikes on IRGC targets on land, on sea. They could hit their bases. And I think these are the sorts of options that the US will be weighing up on how best to do it.
All right, Malcolm Davis, good to have you with us. Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.